30% of 150 Rand. When we are working out percentages of numbers, what we need to do is first convert our percentages into fractions and hopefully into our simplified fraction. So 30% as a simplified fraction is 3 over 10, and we know that of is equal to a multiplication, and then we can work with 150 rands or 150 over 1. So 30% of 150 is equal to 3/10 of, or multiplied by 150 over 1. Now what we need to do is cross cancel if we can, and we see that we can divide our 10 and our 150 by 10 to get 1 and 15. So we end up with 3 multiplied by 15, which is equal to 45, and 1 times by 1 is equal to 1. So we end up with an answer of 45 Rand. Don't forget your measurement because you might get half marks taken off. Right, let's have a look at 75% of 280 meters. 75% we need to convert into a simplified fraction. So 75% as a simplified fraction is 3/4, and of we can convert into a multiplication, and 280 meters we can work with 280 over 1. Now we want to cross cancel and simplify where possible. So 4 into itself goes once, and 4 into 28 goes 7 times, so 4 into 280 will go 70 times. Then we multiply our numerators and our denominators to get 210 over 1, or just 210, and our measurement is meters. So 75% of 280 meters is equal to 210 meters. Let's have a look at 87.5% of 0.960 liters, or just 0.96 liters. And what that will give us is we need to convert our percentage into a simplified fraction, which is equal to 7 over 8, and our of is a multiplication. And then what we can do with our liters is first convert it into milliliters, so that we are not working with decimals. So we convert our 0.96 liters into milliliters by multiplying it by 1000, and we get 1, 2, 3 decimal places in. So we've got 960 milliliters over 1. We just need to remember to convert our answer back into liters because they asked us in liters, unless the question specifies that you must give your answer in milliliters. So now what we need to do is cross cancel and simplify. So 8 fits into itself once, and 8 fits into 96 12 times, so it fits into 960 120 times. So we end up with 7 multiplied by 120, which is equal to 840 over 1, because 1 times 1 is 1. So this is 840 milliliters, which we need to convert back into liters, and that will give us an answer of 0.84 liters, because we divide our milliliters by 1000 to get our answer back into liters. So 87.5% of 960 milliliters, or 0.96 liters, will give us an answer of 0.84 liters. If I would like to increase 20 Rand by 20%, I need to understand exactly what my question is asking me. I need to increase my 20 Rand by 20% of itself. So this 20% does not mean that you say 20 Rand plus 20%. We are increasing 20 Rand by 20% of itself. That is a very important thing to remember. So how we want to set out this question is we want to say 20 Rand plus, and then we open our brackets and say 20% of 20 Rand. Just so that we know exactly what we need to do in our working out. So we remember to always just bring down our 20 Rand so that we remember to add whatever we work out here to our 20 Rand, instead of just working out our 20% of 20 Rand and giving that as our answer, because that will be incomplete. We would not have increased our 20 Rand by 20%. We would have only worked out 20% of 20 Rand. So now we do our brackets first. So we work out in our brackets 20% as a simplified fraction is equal to 1/5, because it's easier to work with fractions than it is with percentages when we are working with of. So 1/5 of, or multiplied by 20 over 1. So 5 fits into itself once, 5 fits into 20 4 times. So we end up with 20 Rand plus 1 times 4 is 4 and 1 times 1 is 1. So we get an answer of 4 over 1, or just 4 Rand. So 20 plus 4 is equal to 24. So increasing 20 Rand by 20% gives us an answer of 24 Rand. If we would like to increase 65 Rand by 13%, again, the way that we set out our working out is most important. So we are increasing 65 Rand, which means we are plussing. Increase means we are making that number bigger. So we are plussing, and then we are plussing by 13%. And remember, that percentage is of the number that we are working with. So 13% of 65, or 65 Rand. Right, so we know that we are going to be working with our bracket first. So we always bring down our 65 and we plus our bracket. So 13% is 13 over 100. And then we multiply that by 65 over 1. And we can do some cross-cancelling here, but I would like to keep 100 as our denominator. So we know we are going to have 100 as our denominator here, because 100 times 1 is 100. And then we can work out our 13 times 65 here on the side. We can say 65 times by 13. 3 times 5 is 15, carry our 1. 3 times 6 is 18, plus 1 is 19. Take our 1 away and we end up with 5 and 6, because 1 times 5 is 5, 1 times 6 is 6, and then we add together. Right, so we end up with an answer of 845. So there's 845 over 100, and we keep bringing down our 65, so we don't forget to plus this to our 65 at the end. And now we need to convert our 845 into a decimal, because we don't want to be plussing 65 Rand with a fraction. We would prefer to be plussing with a decimal. So we've got 845 over 100. So we bring in 2 decimal places and we end up with 8 Rand 45. So we've got 65 Rand plus 8 Rand 45, and that will give us our answer. So let's make some space here. And we work out $65.00 plus 8 Rand 45. And that gives us an answer of 5, 4, 13, and 7. So we end up with 73 Rand 45 cents. 73.45. So increasing 65 Rand by 13% will give us an answer of 73 Rand 45. If we would like to decrease 240 meters by 70%, what we need to do is again set out our question into working out that makes sense to us. So 240 we are now minusing, so we are decreasing, which means we are minusing by, and then we open our brackets, and it's that 70% of our 240 meters. So 70% of 240 meters. Right, so we know that we need to keep bringing down this 240 meters so that we don't forget to minus our answer here from our 240 meters. So 70% of 240 we work out to be 7/10 multiplied by 240 over 1. And then we can cross cancel and simplify. So 10 divided by 10 is 1. 240 divided by 10 is 24. And then we work out 24 multiplied by 7. 7 times 4 is 28. 2 times 7 or 7 times 2 is 14 plus 2 is 16. So we end up with 168 over 1 because 1 times 1 is 1. So we're minusing 168 meters from 240 meters. So let's work that out on the side. 240 minus 168. 0 minus 8 we cannot do, so we borrow from our 4 to get 3. Take our 1 over. 10 minus 8 is 2. 3 minus 6 we cannot do, we borrow from our 2. And we carry our 1 over. 13 minus 6 is 7. 1 minus 1 is 0. So we end up with an answer of 72 meters. So decreasing 240 meters by 70% will give us an answer of 72 meters. Right. Now, if we understand that 1 whole is equal to 100%, then 240 meters is 100% of 240 meters. So if we are working out 70% of 240 meters, we basically need to minus 70% of 240 meters to get we need to minus 70% of 240 from 240 in order to get 30% of 240 meters, because 100%, and if we are decreasing by 70%, that means we are minusing 70% from 100%, and that gives us an answer of 30%. So when we are decreasing 240 meters by 70%, what we are actually doing is we are just working out what 30% of 240 meters is. So let's have a look at whether 30% of 240 meters will give us the same answer that we got here, our 72 meters. So 30% of 240 meters is equal to, let's do it here, is equal to 3/10 of, or times by 240 over 1. And then we can cross cancel 10 into itself once, 10 into 240 24 times. So 3 times 24 we do on the side, or 24 times 3. And then we work out 3 times 4 is 12, carry our 1. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 is 7. So we end up with an answer of 72 meters, which is exactly what we got here. So we can see that working out 30% of 240 meters is exactly the same as working out or decreasing 240 meters by 70%. If we would like to decrease 76 kgs by 60%, we need to work out 76 kgs minus, because we are decreasing, minus, and then we open our brackets and put in our 60% of 76 kgs. Right, so we know that we are going to be working with our brackets first. We do need to keep bringing down our 76 kgs so we don't forget to minus this number from 76 at the end. And we work out that 60% is equal to 3/5 as a simplified fraction. And then we multiply that by 76 over 1. Right, so let's work out what 76 times by 3 is. So 76 multiplied by 3. 3 times by 6 is 18, carry our 1. 3 times 7 is 21, plus 1 is 22. So we end up with 228 over 5. So now we need to convert 228 over 5 into a decimal, because it's easier to work with decimals than it is with fractions when we are minusing with kgs. So let's work out 228.0 divided by 5. 5 goes into 2 0 times, so I carry my 2 over. 5 into 22 goes 4 times, remainder 2. 5 into 28 goes 5 times, I bring up my decimal point. 5 times 5 is 25, so there's a remainder of 3. And 5 into 30 goes 6 times with no remainder. So I end up with 45.6. So 76 kgs minus 45.6 kgs will give us our answer. So we say 76.0 minus 45.6. 0 minus 6 we cannot do, so we borrow from our 6 to get 5, and we carry our 1 over. And that's 4. We bring down our decimal point. 5 minus 5 is 0, and 7 minus 4 is 3. So we end up with a final answer of 30.4 kgs. And what I challenge you to do now is to check whether, because we were decreasing 76 kgs by 60%, I would like you to see whether 40% of 76 kgs will give us the same answer. So decreasing 76 kgs by 60% gives us an answer of 30.4 kgs. So what you can do is pause your video now and work out 40% of 76 kgs and see whether you get an answer of 30.4 kgs. If we are asked to find x when 25% of x is equal to 80, we need to work with what we have been given. So we've been given 25% and we've been given our 80. We know that 25% of our unknown is equal to 80. So our unknown doesn't have to be x, it could be a question mark, or it just could be a blank. So don't let the x confuse you, but that is just to help us indicate that that is what we are looking for. So 25% of x is equal to 1/4 of x, because 25% is equal to 1/4. So what we need to figure out is how to get to 4/4 of x, because 4/4 of x will give us our whole value of x. So 1/4 of x is equal to 80. So we need to multiply 1/4 by 4/1 to get 4/4. And therefore we have to multiply our 80 by 4, or 4/1 as well, and we end up with 320. So 4/4 of x, or we can just say x is equal to 320. So now what we can do is we can check our answer. We can plug in our 300 where we have our x, or our 320. So 25% of 320, we hope to get an answer of 80. So 25% of 320 is equal to 1/4 of, or multiplied by 320/1. And then we can cross cancel. 4 into itself goes once. 4 into 320 goes 80 times. And we end up with an answer of 80/1, which is equal to 80. And that is what we were hoping for. So 25% of x is equal to 80. Our x is therefore equal to 320. If we are asked to find the value of the smiley face, or it could be a Y or an X or just a blank, if we are asked to find the value of that smiley face, if 37.5% of that smiley face is equal to 165, what we need to do is firstly convert our percentage into a simplified fraction, which is equal to 3/8. So 3/8 of, or multiplied by our smiley face, is equal to 165. So what we need to try and work out is what 1/2 times our smiley face is going to be equal to. So what do we need to do to 3/8 to get 1/2? So we need to actually multiply our 3/8, or our 3/8 by 8/3 in order to get 1/2, because as you can see, if we can cross cancel, so we cross cancel 8 into itself once, 8 into itself once, 3 into itself once, and 3 into itself once, we end up with 1/2 multiplied by our smiley face, which is equal to just our smiley face, and that is exactly what we are wanting. So because over here we multiplied our 3/8 by 8/3, we also need to multiply our 165 by 8/3. So we can say 165/1 is equal to, we can cross cancel, so 3 into itself goes once, and then we can see how many times 3 fits into 165. 3 fits into 16 5 times, remainder 1. 3 fits into 15 5 times perfectly. So 3 into 165 is 55 times. So we end up with 55 multiplied by 8 and 1 multiplied by 1. So let's do 55 times by 8. 5 times 8 is 40, or 8 times 5 is 40. And 8 times 5 is 40, plus 4 is 44. So we end up with an answer of 440/1, or just 440. So our smiley face is equal to 440. So let's now have a look and see whether 37.5% of our smiley face, which we now think is 440. Let's see if that is in fact equal to 165. So 37.5% is equal to 3/8 times by 440 over 1. And let's do 440 divided by 8. 8 into 44 will go 5 times, remainder 4. And 8 into 40 goes 5 times with no remainder. So 8 fits into itself once. 8 fits into 440 55 times. 55 times 3 now. 3 times 5 is 15, carry our 1. 3 times 5 is 15, plus 1 is 16. So we end up with 165 over 1, or just 165. So 37.5% of 440 does indeed give us an answer of 165, which is what we were hoping for. So our answer of a smiley face being equal to 440 is in fact correct. What percentage of 35 is equal to 7? All we need to do here is work out 7 over 35 and work that out firstly as a decimal and then multiply our decimal by 100, and then we will get our percentage. So 7 over 35, we have got a fraction that can be simplified. So let's first work with 7 over 35, and we can divide both 7 and 35 by 7 to get 1 over 5. And 1 over 5 is equal to 0.2 or 20%. So 20% of 35 is equal to 7. So 20% of 35 is equal to 7, which is what we have there. Let's have a look at if we were to work this out with our 20% there. We work out 1/5 of, or multiplied by 35 over 1. And let's see if that gives us an answer of 7. What we can do here is cross cancel. So we divide our 5 by 5 to get 1. Divide our 35 by 5 to get 7, and we do indeed get an answer of 7. Let's have a look at another example. Y% of 96 is equal to 12. What is our percentage? So we need to find the value of y. So y% of 96 is equal to 12. All we need to do is say 12 over our 96 over there. And we need to simplify this down so we can divide both 12 and 96 by 12 to get 1 over 8. And 1 over 8 as a decimal is 0.125. And as a percentage, we multiply it by 100 to get 12.5%. So y is therefore equal to 12.5%. Let's have a look at B% of 125 is equal to 17. So we need to find what the value of B is. So we need to just create a fraction by saying our numerator divided by our denominator. So 17 over 125. We need to now get this firstly into a decimal. So we need to multiply our numerator and our denominator by 8 to get a fraction firstly out of 1,000. So we say 17 multiplied by 8, which gives us 136. And 136 over 1,000, if we can actually convert this straight into a percentage by dividing both 1,000 and 136 by 10 to get something over 100, and we end up with 13.6 over 100, or 13.6%. And if we were to convert 136 over 1,000 into a decimal first, it would be 0.136, and then we would multiply that by 100 also to get 13.6%. So as we can see, B is equal to 13.6 or 13.6%. So if you were to plug in 13.6 there, we would work out that 13.6% of 125 is 17.